Hello, everybody, and welcome back to That Milan podcast. Martino Puccio, Matt Santangelo, alongside you guys once again, getting in this episode right before the Coppa Italia final, right before the Bologna match in Serie A. Only 3 matches left in this season. Well, 4 matches in total. Finally, we're approaching the end of this tumultuous season. So, Santangelo, we picked up another dub, but before we say and get into that, we just want to say thank you all for the support this season. It's nice to have some of you come back for some victories. It's a little bit easier to digest content in general when the team is winning and doing anything in a positive manner. So I think that's a cool thing to have in a way. So thank you guys for returning, and sorry the team isn't better than it is. But yeah, be sure to subscribe, like, comment, everything that you can do to support us. Like the video. All right, so let's get right into this. This one will be a quick episode. Milan beat Genoa 2-1. There's not really much I have to say with this one. Kind of a silly one with the way it went down. Vitinha scores his first goal in nearly a year. Genoa score their first goal in nearly in over a month. It was like a month and a day from the last time that they scored a goal. So Vitinha's first touch of the match. I mean, it was just funny. I felt nothing. I don't really feel anything towards these Serie A games.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of just funny to me at this point. Whatever happens, happens. I'm kind of more on the side of I hope the good players keep padding their stats. Sorry, I went to the dentist, so like my mouth is all over the place. But yeah, man, I don't know. It's just 3 points. Fofana injury is probably the bigger of stories in this, which we'll get into. But just overall, the result in this, I guess you kind of want to talk about beating Genoa. It might seem nice, even though I think the previous match was a 0-0 draw to them.
I think so. Yeah, I know there was like a bunch. I think this same fixture last year, the one away at the Marazzi, was the one where we had Olivier Giroud with the goalkeeper.
It was 0-0, yeah, but
If people recall. But earlier this year, yeah, scoreless draw, which again is pretty much on brand for this 2024-2025 Milan, right? You look at Genoa, a team that's meddling mid-table, has nothing to aim for. They're safe. They're not really in contention at all for European spots, and it's another match that Milan couldn't get 3 points from, right? And with a match like this, I think I predicted 2-0, and it was close. I thought Milan were going to be in a little bit more favorable position, but I don't think the conditions did us any favors. Didn't do Genoa any favors. The fact that they got a goal to go ahead was pretty big. I thought it was going to be when I saw that Genoa was ahead, because I was like kind of like on my commute home and I was like listening to the game. I was like, they lose. I mean, I obviously don't want that to happen, but like the focus is on the
no difference, yeah.
Copa, right? Like we don't really have anything to play for in the league. But give credit to Milan. I think that they came out with a much better second half. At the moment that Sergio made some switches, some key personnel came in, and the timing of it, I thought he got spot on. Of course, Rafa didn't start in this game, which was a big talking point when people saw the projected lineups, and it saw Ruben Loftus-Cheek as a winger. I don't think anyone was anticipating any sort of extravagant outcome with that. But of course, as you mentioned, with Fofana getting injured very early, that plan was essentially scrapped, and Rafa came in and in the second half specifically made the difference. He was at the heart of both the goals that Milan scored within a couple minutes, and that's enough. I think at this point in time in this part of the season, I think that you still want to see your top players get goals. You still want to see your top players, make the difference. And Rafa's our top player. Him and Pulisic, you can make a case with Tijani as the top 3 guys this year with Maignan right there as well. So, I mean, 2-1 result. It's good to get the win, no doubt. I think what this win in the initial reaction gave me was Milan are 6 points out of top 4, and it's going to be Milan finishing like 4 points off, 5 points off top 4 when the season's done, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be one of those 5 points. Like, how many outcomes did Milan not do themselves any favors in where they could have easily had points and they could have been in that top 4?
Yep.
So that's kind of what I see a lot of these wins kind of amount to. And that's kind of been my taking away point, right? Martino is
Mm.
these matches that were scrappy, the 2-1 games where you don't play that great, you have an injury, you're a little banged up, the conditions aren't favorable, it's pouring rain, and yet you somehow find a way to get victories. That's what Milan needed earlier in the season. Like they needed this type of result earlier in the year where you're just trying to compile victories, put yourself in position at the end of the season to be top four and to just sort of, kind of secure it that way. But 2-1, I'll take it. The Fofana thing we'll have to keep an eye on. Hopefully it's not a serious injury. And of course, we'll talk about it as well. Rafa getting the yellow card, so he's going to be rested this weekend by force due to the suspension. But we'll have him back for the big Copa match. So that's good.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of whatever. I mean, even if you've seen the Antonio Vitiello translated article from Sempre Milan, it's just basically about how no change is really coming from the top, or he doesn't anticipate any changes from the leadership coming in. They might add a sporting director. It's just pretty pathetic.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. To me, it's like kind of whatever. I don't care about results like this when stuff like that doesn't change, because you could say, okay, there is no silver lining for like picking up these wins at the end, still being ninth, being off of fourth. I don't take anything away from that. I don't think anyone should be happy, impressed, or any of that kind of stuff. For me, it's sort of like, what do I have to look forward to that I can be happy about for next season, right? When
Yeah.
Milan were, playing better after the COVID issue, where they came back and they were playing well. It's like, okay, well, they didn't necessarily do anything in terms of like putting themselves in a good spot
Mm-hmm.
that season to win anything, but there's an outlook for the future. There was a plan. There still is no plan here.
Yeah.
This manager that we have is likely leaving. There's been some talent. We don't know who's staying. We don't know who's going. For me, it's just, I don't know. It's just, I know that kind of sounds bleak, but it's to me, there's not much to discuss with it. I mean, Maignan was terrific yesterday. He won them this match. His goal line save is one of the better saves that you'll see. Um, Almost over the line. I think it was like a quarter of the ball or like a fifth. I don't know, like whatever the margins were, they were small. And he was the one who was able to prevent that. No idea why Leao wasn't starting in this one. Fofana getting injured. There is no updates. I still haven't read or seen anything regarding that one. We know
Mm-hmm.
Leao is going to be suspended for this coming match against Bologna on Friday, which we'll talk about. To me, it's just it's nice to see Maignan have a terrific 2025. There was some really bad moments from him. Obviously, Fire Nord in the first leg was on him. There was other moments throughout the season where you're like, that's just inexcusable from him. But overall, I think him, Reinders, Pulisic, and Leao have all put together solid seasons. And I don't really like look at them as the problems this year. I think there's all the other players that you can look at. I just think that once again going down and then having to come back and win that for a
Yeah.
side that hadn't scored in a month. I mentioned on the live, I mentioned in Cush's video that I was on, is that like when they go and play Lecce hasn't scored in months. Lecce scores. They have no problem. It's a mentality problem. It's it's a mentality problem in the reverse psychology order, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where teams are not scared of Milan. They don't fear them. No one does. Even when they were really good, to an extent. To me, I just think stuff like this is kind of whatever. I don't really care. I think it's nice to see Leao. Leao saves the team's ass again, and people are going to label him as the issue. They don't win without him. This was all him. I know you could look at Maignan and be like, terrific save. Sure. I think that angle makes sense. You're not wrong. But I'm sorry, you're just an idiot if you hate Leao at this point. Just straight up. I don't care what your opinion is or if it's an opinion at the end of the day. Your opinion's stupid. Like, honestly. Like, it's just, I'm tired of it. I'm tired of people labeling this guy as part of the problem. He scored the goal.
To read a quick quote, too, from Gabbia
Gabbia?
to his own, yeah. Leao shouldn't listen to the critics, only to those who love him and want him to reach a higher level. we pamper him, and he wins us games. So, yeah, I mean, just not to cut you off, but I think
No,
you're
no, it's
spot
fine.
on because I
Please, you're
think
saving me.
the fact that people for how much people have been critical of Rafa this year, and really post COVID, I know people have like praised him when he's had like the games against Napoli in the Champions League or some of these games, these signature games against PSG, right in the Champions League last year, and they're quick to rush to praise him. I think for like engagement and for all these sorts of things on social media, but he's oftentimes the scapegoat in many instances. And I think that when things go poorly like they have this year, I think it's
Yeah.
natural for your key stars to get the brunt of the criticism. And some of it fairly received, because I think that when I watch games like this from Rafa, um, I, I I find it a little strange that like it sounds like maybe I'm criticizing him too, but I'm not. I'm just trying to be like very objective and just honest about it, because I do want to see him when Gabia says that he can reach a next level. What I think that reaching that next level will require from him is to be a little bit more of a commanding force. And what I mean by that is in games like this where there's opportunity to be had, there's moments for him to exploit space, open to exploit. You almost want to see him be more ruthless, more aggressive, more of that. Okay, I'm going to come in. I'm going to take control of this game. And
Mm-hmm.
he did it a couple years ago in that Scudetto winning season, where I think that Milan were so heavily reliant on him in a lot of those games down the stretch, and he took it on full force and was the MVP of the season, right? I think that's kind of what I want to see from him. And I'm not saying that, this is the one game that sort of opened my eyes to that, but I think the more I sort of understand Rafa, his game, his development to date, and, some of the commentary by like Gabia and wider media, is I think that's kind of what I want to see from him. Because I think if you're going to have Pulisic, who typically, and has been very honest about this himself, been more of like that timid guy, like when it comes to the penalty situation, not stepping up to take those penalties.
Yeah.
Um, I think you can't have too many passive minded individuals. And I guess maybe that's not the right word, because I don't think Pulisic is like passive to the point where he just completely shies away from the moment, because he stepped up in some key moments this year. But I
Mm-hmm.
think that in order for Milan to go the next step next season, especially with this attack, which is, we've built it up quite well. When you look at the personnel, when you look at Rafa, Pulisic, Santi, you look at Tijani in that equation, that's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
quality. That's in a pretty abundant amount of quality, and more quality than Milan have had in recent years, right? Like, when you look
Yeah.
at just strictly goal production,
Mm-hmm.
creativity, all those sorts of things, you almost want this team to say, where's our strength lie? We're not a strong defensive team, and I'm not saying that we should completely, throw out a whole defensive game plan and strategy, because we do need to grow in that department. But when you look at games like this where it's a Pulisic show, it's Rafa, it's Tijani, lean on those strengths, like lean
Yeah.
on those guys. And
Yeah.
that's kind of what I want to see. So I'm hoping next year, and I don't know if maybe it's a changing of a little bit of personnel and the coach, because I was hoping that Sergio would be the guy to like kind of get it out of Rafa, because he is that sort of like militant sergeant like personality. But I think that's what I want to see. I want to see him be able to do a little bit of more of that now that we have some sort of balance within this attack, because it's easier for me to say that when we have these quality players like Pulisic and Tijani around him, which wasn't really the case in years past, where it was, hey, we have Calabri, Salamakers, and Macias on the right side. Rafa, go do your thing, even though you're getting triple teamed, right? Like, so that's kind of what I want to see. But just in general, back to this performance, yeah. I mean, he's at the heart of both those goals, gets the man of the match performance, and you can see, I think the more people watch Rafa, could he do more? Yes. But this idea that it's him, we're losing games because of him, and he's not doing enough. He's doing quite a bit. He could do more, but he's doing quite a bit in many of these games, and we're not winning. We're not winning
Because I mean, look at it. Like,
yeah,
you saw my screenshot of the
yeah,
goal that was conceded, correct?
yeah, yeah,
Leao's fault. Let's blame that guy. And I know Maxi and Gino do a great job of also like defending Rafa as well,
yeah.
because I don't understand the stupidity of certain people where you sit there and say, our defense sucks. Our midfield's so annoying. We don't have a ball winner. We don't have guys who could do the dirty work and do the job of winning the ball back and being solidified defensively. Let's blame the attacker. What? What are you talking about? Where is your logic in all
It's a
this?
lazy narrative, and I'm not saying it's again. I'm not saying that he's a
No, he's not
perfect
perfect.
player and he does everything the right way and he's always an 8 out of 10 performance or better. I'm not
No,
saying that,
we
guys.
never have said that. We have
But
never
I
said
think
that.
the point being is like when you look at the lack of balance within this team, and everyone is so quick to acknowledge, and rightfully so, the deficiencies in the defense, the deficiencies in the midfield. We don't have the right profiles where we need them. And yet, suddenly, I feel like it's always the constant fall guy is Rafa. And again, that comes with the territory of being a top player, the highest paid player on the team at a club like Milan. I understand that. But man, there's a lot wrong with this team for it to be falling on one guy's shoulders.
I mean, we talk about how many goals they conceded last year. We talk about the marking where Pavlovic and Gambia have no idea how to communicate with one another. The team, again, if you break it down, if you understand the sport, and you don't even have to be Saki, it's just pure logic. Is it harder or easier to score when you're losing in Italy? Simple question. Simple yes or no question. Yes, it's harder to score.
Yeah.
Why is that? Because teams are super defensive and they're waiting for you to go at them to score so they can pounce on your mistake. And again, Milan doing a terrible job once again. I think Rocco Unfiltered, one of our friends that was commenting yesterday in the chat, was saying 19 points from coming back by Milan this year. How many times was that with Pulisic, Reinders, and Leao doing the dirty work? Because we got idiots on defense that have no idea what they're doing with man marking. We have midfielders that are giving the ball away so cheaply and easily, where Milan can't maintain possession to help create for this team. It's so laughable that Pulisic, I mean, where was Pulisic in this one? I love Christian, but he had a goose egg. You're not going to hear from it, and that's fine, because you know what? He's not going to be a 10 out of 10 or 8 out of 10 every day. There's some mediocre performances. But why is one guy held to different standards than the other? If people want to label Pulisic as the best player. Where's that? Reinders wasn't particularly great in this one. Teo had another goose egg as far as I'm concerned. He did nothing special. To me, it's just very funny how people pick and choose when the criticisms are warranted.
Yeah.
I'm just saying this guy won you another game, and a lot of you are just sitting there not praising this guy. I find that laughable. I really do. Because where would they be if I took the time and actually cared to grab every statistic like I did when Raspadori and how clutch he's been for Napoli and what his goals mean for the team. And like Jovic and Okafor were last year. Jovic and Okafor were massive for Milan. The reason that they were able to pick up 3 points or salvage a draw here and there was because of their late game heroics and scoring their goals. Leao was the difference in so many matches. He was the difference when they won the Scudetto. The goal against Fiorentina is the difference. 3 assists on the final match day against Sassuolo is the difference. My God, how many times do we have to say, yeah, he's not Van Basten, he's not Kaká. But you know what? He's that tier right below that. That is incredible. And to think that we're going to go at him when we see the clear deficiencies within the squad, to me, it's just annoying. It just truly is annoying because once again, we see another example of this. And he's suspended for Friday against Bologna, so he'll get that full break 8 days from now when they face off in the final. So to me, it's just I'm not surprised by it. This guy is the difference maker. He's the reason why they won the trophy this year that they have. He might be the reason why they win their second trophy. He might be the reason that they sneak backdoor into a European spot, whether it be the league or winning that trophy. To me, just a lot of fans and supporters just have too much misguided anger as to who to blame on the pitch. And I don't think he's even in the conversation for someone that you want to get upset with. I think this Fofana injury is definitely something big to monitor. We don't know, again, still what's going to happen with that. I would assume at the very least he's not going to be playing Friday. I don't think it's even worth it for him to play. I think this one is far bigger for Bologna. This one is going to be at San Siro. Obviously, the final is going to be in Rome for Coppa Italia. To me, this loss for Fofana when he's had a good stretch of play is unfortunate. But yeah, I mean, you see the replacements come in. Bondo wasn't even an option. Musah, I'm not even going to really rag on Musah. I saw a lot yesterday. I'm not sure if you did. On his play in the final third. He is what he is in the final third. To me, it's just sort of beating a dead horse at this point. I kind of feel bad for the kid. It's just he's not good enough for Milan, and that's okay. And also, like, what do people like assume? Fofana goes out, we have an adequate replacement, right? We don't. We know this. It's a thin midfield. We don't have good backup players. Whatever decent ones we have, we sold off. Like, even then, they weren't even healthy. I don't know. Like, it is what it is. They won the match in spite of that. I think they're definitely going to need Fofana if they want to beat Bologna in Coppa Italia. It would get that much harder and difficult to do so. So yeah, it's a big loss, and just not even to hamper on Musah. I think these are like his final days with the club, unless whoever comes in says loan, maybe come back, see him develop. To me, it just is what it is at this point. I'm just not even. I think it's a waste of time to really rag on the kid. It's been a rough sledding. It's been some decent moments, few, and then largely moments that are glaring issues. And I feel bad for him in that sense because he doesn't have a bad attitude. He doesn't have a bad work rate. It's just skill. He just doesn't have it. He's not going to change. The things that he can get better at, he has not improved upon at all. We hadn't seen him for a little bit, Matt. The decision making when he gets the ball in the final
Yeah.
third, it's quicker on the pitch than we see on television. There's no denying that. Anyone who knows that, right? You go off your couch, even go play in your Sunday league, you're like, oh, that developed a lot faster than I thought. But when it's 3 to 4 seconds, that's a long time to give defenses to close the gap. He could have ripped. I would have been fine if he rips a shot, goes towards goal, something. The hesitation is just, it's not been fixed. It's a glaring issue. Like sometimes when we had seen Milan go through those breaks where some of those younger players were developing under Pioli, they sat for a bit, they came back, you saw how much they improved.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see that with Musah. If you say
No,
he's better than last year, that's not saying much to me.
well, the excuse you can give him last year was he was like in and out, playing like a multitude of positions within the team, and really just being asked to play wherever the coach put him. And I think that's, yes, a testament to the fact that he's a selfless player. He's willing to just play as a wing back. He's willing to play as a winger. He's willing to play in a double pivot, whatever the coach needs, a right back, right? We've seen him play a couple different roles, but yeah, I mean, I think that those the understanding, like the decision making within a game, I think we haven't seen him grow in that respect, because I think there are qualities to like. And I know you said that you just said something that like he isn't going to get better or can't get better in certain areas. I don't necessarily agree with that. Like, I think he hasn't maybe shown that he can improve in certain aspects, because we've seen a good body of work to know that, like, hey, it's year 2, year 3. He still isn't as decisive with making the pass forward or being more. I don't know, but I think the point I'm trying to make is that I think that we've seen many examples of players that come to Milan, players that come to Serie A, and they find it somewhere else. The league maybe is a little bit of a different opportunity for them to go somewhere and say maybe he goes to Spain, and Spain plays more to his strengths, or maybe he goes to a team in the Premier League and he's able to play a more simplified way, in a way that's more conducive to showing his abilities. I think that it's, the more I look at Milan the past couple years under 3 different coaches, and the ultimate identity of how we want to play or we're trying to play, I think that you're going to see more examples of players thriving elsewhere, and I don't think it could really surprise us. Players that might not be good for Milan might be good for another team, and that happens. It's normal in the sport. But I think the point, I guess, your overarching point you're trying to make is he might figure it out somewhere, but it might not be at Milan. Or maybe it shouldn't be at Milan because we've
It
seen
shouldn't
enough of
be.
him to know
Just
that
how
he's not
many
growing how we need him to grow at this stage of his career. So,
just how many times do we have to like just see it? He's a professional player. He just
yeah,
can't do what's asked of a professional in the final third. I'm sorry. I'm
yeah,
sick of it. It's garbage. It's not good enough. And I'm
yeah,
tired of U.S. men's national team fans. Respect all of you, but open up your eyes. Take off your blinders. I've had enough of it. Like, why do I want Musah to be bad? I lose in every angle if he's poor. So why am I gonna sit here and lie about it? I have nothing to gain from it. And you guys have nothing to gain from lying to yourselves. Simple.
yeah.
It's just tiring. The guy's just not good enough. Coppa Italia dilemma. I think this will be interesting for Friday's match. Bologna and us play each other in a span of 5 days twice. Bologna have the potential to make top 4. Milan, according to Mr. Bonetti, he's right because they're mathematically still in it. It would have to be a massive drop off from every team. And Milan would have to win out. No Leao and Fofana most likely. So Milan are already down pretty big in that regard. Dan Ndoye has been missing time for Bologna. Santiago Castro has been missing time. These are very interesting situation for both clubs. I think it's obviously massive for Bologna if they want to get back into the Champions League again for the second year in a row. It's also big in terms of them winning their first trophy in a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
The way Italiano will have to juggle this will be interesting. The way Milan approach it will also be interesting. I'm not anticipating this sort of match where in Serie A that is kind of game breaking or elite play. I think it's going to be very cagey between the two. I don't think you're going to see a lot of players exhausting or exerting a lot of energy because ultimately, I think they're going to like take their moments and chances and not be, 90 minutes back and forth end to end. I think it's going to be whoever takes their chance within this one is going to be able to come out on top. And as far as, who's going to be starting, who's going to be sitting for Milan, I
Mm-hmm.
would anticipate most of the starters being in there. I would be a little surprised if, he sat a bunch of the players in Conceição. I think he's going to be going for it. Whether or not I think that's the right decision is another thing. I think just doing what you can to be rested for Coppa Italia final is best. But also, if you feel like you have a chance to win a game, you always go and try and win a game.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see how Sergio approaches that, who starts in place of Rafa. Yeah, I don't know. I find this very interesting. There's a very unique situation for both of these teams that they're in right now. And they both have a lot to lose in terms of Coppa Italia and top 4, well, more so Bologna. So what is your kind of take or position on what is going to happen within this match?
Yeah, so I mean, they're technically not like mathematically eliminated from Champions League contention, but I think being realistic, you have to see how many teams they got to jump over just to get to top 4, and how many results they need swayed in their favor the rest of the way. Baking in Rafa suspension, Fofana with the injury now, and just kind of the quick turnaround to that game. And I think obviously playing them back to back, right? Like we've played them essentially 3 times in the past. We're going to play them 3 times in essentially the past 2-3 months, right? Because we had the makeup game in February, I think. So they're also getting a good reading of Milan, and they know Milan, what they can exploit and how they play. I think I'm inclined to agree with you on the way that I think both these teams have to kind of approach this. I think it's going to be more of a chess match. I think that you would love for Milan to play to their strengths, right? The team that loves to get out in space, get you on the counter. But I don't know if Bologna is going to be very inviting of that. I don't think that Bologna is going to go into this game thinking, let's go and play high octane. Let's give it all we got. This is me. Like, I think they're looking at the entire situation and think, okay, like we know our system's good. We know we can play good football. rotated quite a bit the past couple weeks. I mean, even in the Juventus game, like they weren't playing with Ndoye. You said he's injured. Castro didn't start. Castro hasn't started in the past couple games.
Yeah.
Holm was injured. Like this is a team I think that understands their identity. I don't think they're going to deviate too much to what they know and how they play in this game. I think you're going to
Yeah.
see something very similar to the game that Milan played with them, earlier in this year. And Milan lost in that game. Bologna took their chances. It wasn't an extravagant game by any stretch for them, but this has kind of been the theme of their season. Bologna, like they've grown in against big opponents. They've raised the game against big opponents, and they're a team that is pretty efficient when it comes to scoring goals in the final third and capitalizing on their chances. I sense it's going to be much of the same because I don't think that Milan in their recent performances have shown anything that leads Bologna to believe, well, we need to kind of scrap our initial game plan and go at this a little bit differently.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to get an idea of how both teams are going to try to line up to approach the Copa game with the lineups they put out here, because Milan are forced in a situation to bench Rafa or to have Rafa on the bench because of the suspension. But they rested him in the game against Genoa with ample amount of time ahead of the Copa game. So I think that Sergio is playing for that Copa game. I'm not. He's not going to say it because he's going to be like, "Well, I want to win every game that I have here." Like until
Yeah.
we're mathematically
PR
eliminated from
wise,
top
yeah.
four, we're going for top four. Yes,
Mhm.
but I think you'll see. And so just to kind of like head over into what predicted 11, I think you'll see Musah, and I think you'll see Tijani, or maybe Ruben Loftus-Cheek, and I think you'll see a 3-4-3. I think he feels good about the 3-4-3. I think you'll see who's going to be on the left side though. Is it going to be Felix? Maybe it's Felix.
Till has been knocked up. That's why he didn't play
It
yesterday.
could be Felix. It could be Felix Pulisic and whoever the striker is up
Yeah.
front on
Mhm.
Friday. I could see that. And then I can see in the midfield being Jimenez, Teo, and then I can see some rotation in the midfield.
Loftus-Cheek. I think Loftus-Cheek is
Loftus-Cheek
in
and
there.
Musah, and then I think you'll see your standard back three. Like I don't think it's going to be anything drastic. I think he's gonna maybe the timing of some of the substitutions might kind of give you an indication of where he's headed because he's shown that capability of like 55th or 60th minute. Okay, I'm making 2 to 3 subs and rotating quickly. So let's wait and see. I mean, my opinion, even though we're not mathematically eliminated from top four, too much needs to happen in our way. We need too many results to go our way. We need to take care of our own business as well. Just go for the Copa, in my opinion. Like if I had my choice and like where I wanted to put all my resources, it's the Copa game because I want that extra trophy. And I don't want the game on Friday to kind of get in the way of that. Not saying I don't want to win, but you get the point.
Yeah. We'll see at the end of the day. Yeah, it's gonna have to take a decent effort from the team. That's pretty much it. There's nothing really else to talk about, guys. I'm not gonna be around for Coppa Italia and this match to cover it, so we'll see what happens when we come back. If Milan are closer to top four somehow, or if they're Coppa Italia champions. So we appreciate all you guys again. Subscribe to the podcast at that Milan Pod, at that Milan Podcast everywhere. Apple, Spotify. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok. Be sure to also subscribe to other channels like Football Kush, MLM Podcast, Old Hard Rossonero, and quite a few others. Again, it was on Football Kush's channel. Hopefully everything goes well with Kush and his family. He's going through some hardships right now, so go and show him some love and support on his channel. He will be back within the next few days. So again, just go and check out that video that was posted from him. We appreciate everybody else. Any final words, Matt?
Yeah, just thanks for the consistent support. We have a couple more matches left this season between Copa and, of course, Serie A. So we're going to still put out content. We're going to still give you guys the content you guys have been asking for. And we appreciate the community for helping us grow this year. And let's hope we get some favorable results the rest of the way.
All right, absolutely. Take care, guys, and thank you.